morning, my name is Tricia Bear. Today we're going to be learning how to cook pumpkin bread. It's really moist and it's super easy to make. So the first thing we're going to do is turn on our oven to 325 degrees. And then our first thing is we're going to mix the dry ingredients together. So I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and I usually sift flour, or if I'm going to use cocoa for something, I sift it as well. So I've got 2 cups of all-purpose flour sifted. And then I'm going to put in a teaspoon of cinnamon. Half a teaspoon of baking powder. Make sure you spread it around, or just throw it in one place. 1 teaspoon of baking soda. One teaspoon of nutmeg. And then half a teaspoon of salt. All right. And then we're just going to mix it around real fast with a whisk. And this recipe actually will make 2 loaves of pumpkin bread. And it's really moist. It stays moist for a week at least. So you whisk your dry ingredients together. All right, let's put those to the side. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and spray our pans. So as soon as we get our batter ready, we want to put them in these loaf pans. So make sure you spray the bottom and also the sides, so that way it'll come out easier. So we'll set those back here actually. And if you spray from a distance, it spreads out evenly. All right, so there's our 2 loaf pans. All right, and then the next thing we're going to actually do is we're going to mix our sugar and our butter, and we have 1½ sticks of butter. And then for our sugar, we have 2 cups of sugar. So I'm going to put the sugar in first. That's 2 cups of sugar. There you go. Now on the butter, I let it set out at room temperature so it softens. So you want to do that with butter. And then if you were going to use cream cheese for another recipe, make sure you set it out, probably about an hour before you cook, so that it's soft and it's easier to mix. If you don't let it set out, it'll be clumpy and it won't have a good texture. Okay, so there's our butter. So we're gonna mix together our butter and sugar using our stand mixer with the Wix attachment. I'm gonna do it on medium. It's mixed up pretty good. Now, this recipe also calls for 2 eggs, 2 large eggs. So I let them sit at room temperature for an hour as well. As soon as the sugar and the butter mixes up really good, then I'm going to put in the eggs. And then after that, I'm going to put in 15-ounce can of pumpkin. You want to make sure you get 100% pure pumpkin. That's what you're looking for when the recipe calls for pumpkin. Not a pumpkin puree or anything like that. You want to definitely have pumpkin, 100% pure pumpkin. Turn it off a second. Alright, let me get. We're going to try to kind of got needs to be mixed up better, so I'm just taking it out of the whisk for a second. Alright, walk it back down. That's better. Make sure you put it on a medium speed. That way it mixes the butter up instead of just putting it in the whisk. Alright, that should be fine for that. Okay, now we're going to put in our 2 eggs. They're large eggs. And I'm going to lift up this for a second. Oh, hang on. I like to put my eggs in the cup first, and that way if a shell falls in, it's a lot easier to get out. Alrighty. Okay, I'm turning that back on medium speed, and I'm going to just put my eggs in one at a time so they get mixed up very well. Alright, we'll pour the second one in. If you ever buy a stand mixer like this, you want to try to get the attachment. I've got it over here. There's an attachment that looks like this, and you can actually put it on the side, and it makes it easier when you're trying to put eggs in or whatever. You can just slide it here, and it slides down into the recipe. So it's a pretty good little attachment to have. Alright. And make sure it gets the sides of the bowl. Alright. Knock off this side. Okay. Here's what it's going to look like. Okay, so you have your butter and your sugar. So now you're going to add in your dry ingredients. Add in your dry ingredients. which I should get the lid on. Add in your dry ingredients. All right, we're gonna put it back on a stand mixer because we're going to actually mix our dry ingredients with our butter and sugar. Walk it back in. All right. When you're mixing flour into a recipe, start it on a lower setting so flour doesn't go everywhere. And then you can turn it up high to make it thoroughly mixed in. All right. Then we're going to add our pumpkin puree. Let me get all like us to show you. So here's that little attachment I was telling you about. See how it just slides in there like a slide? Slide there. So I'm just using 1 can of 100% pure pumpkin is what we're using. Like I said earlier, this makes 2 loaves. You might want to double the recipe because it doesn't last long once they taste it. So you might want to double the recipe. All right. Spoon down here. Okay. All right. Now we're mixing our puree, our pumpkin puree. Turn it up high so it really get that pumpkin mixed in with the butter and the sugar. All right. All right. Take that off. All right. Take out the side and get all the pumpkin off. Okay. Okay, and now I'm going to put in some pecans. You don't have to, but I like having pecans in the pumpkin bread. So just sprinkle them in, just kind of fold them in. And that's about 1/2 cup of pecans. I'm gonna try that. Let's see. Make sure you get the bottom because sometimes that don't get mixed up good. do, I may add just another half a cup of pecans. And these are chopped pecans. You can use the smaller versions of the pecans if you want to. Right. This is the texture it's going to have. As you can see, it's going to be drier than you're probably expecting, but that's how the pumpkin bread is. That's how it's baked, of course. Alright, that's it. Alright, so now we just got to put it into our loaf pans. So I'm going to put half of the mixture in one loaf pan and the other half in the other. So put it in there. And this is a really good pumpkin bread recipe because I always test my recipes, so whatever recipes I'm teaching in my classes have been thoroughly tested. And it's going to be thicker than like a cake batter. Okay, we've already got our pumpkin bread out of the oven. We let it cool for 10 minutes. And now we're going to take it out of the pan and let it finish cooling on a wire rack. So you want to go along the sides of the pan. Make sure it's not stuck to the sides. So, all right, and then you're just gonna take it out of the pan, just like so. See, it all came out. Then all we're going to do is we're going to put it on the rack to cool. Just like so. I'm going to do it like this and turn it bottom side down. And you don't want to slice it until it cools or it'll fall apart, so let it completely cool before you decide to cut it. And that's it. That's all. That's how easy it is to make pumpkin bread. So good luck on making it. Anybody can make it. It's super easy and it's delicious.